first of all, I want to thank Mrs. Jordanus and the King's College for their invitation. I want to speak English without mistakes, but it is not possible. I make my apologies at the beginning. The Clotho sentiment analysis and distant reading on the Latin corpus, particularly on the adjective lascivus, lascivus, lasciva, lascivum. This adjective has a problem because in French particularly there are two main senses according to the dictionary of reference, the dictionary of Félix Gaffio, which was written at the beginning of the 20th century. For Félix Gaffio, the lascivus can mean folâtre, badin, enjoué, gay, or in English, petulant, sportive, playful, very slow meaning, or qui en prend à son aise, without complex. But there is a problem with this signification, and the second meaning is more lascive, erotic, etc. For an example of this second meaning, we have the poem of Martial, 791. In this poem, we have the adjective lascivus, which is used in a context which is clearly erotic or pornographic. Cetera lascivis donavit poma puellis mentula custodis luxuriosarii. In English, the distal phallus of the guardian god has bestowed other fruits upon licentious girls. In this context, it is very clearly there is clearly a connotation in this meaning, but in the second poem, the 768, it is more difficult to see the signification. Lascivus is here in a couple with seria, serious, but the context in the collection of poems, these poems are in many pornographic poems. That shows that the meaning can be judged again with this context. But the example of Martial 5:2 is the same thing as 791. In this lascivus is with nequitia, which has a very negative connotation in a Latin point of view. But with Cicero, which is an example of Félix Gaffio in his dictionary, lascivus is more difficult to translate. Cicero writes indeed about a man called Epicrates, a Greek name. Epicratem suspicor ut scribis lascivum fuisse. But this adjective in this context is, according to Parses, the only occurrence by Cicero. It's in the context of private correspondence with Atticus, his brother in mind, his old comrade. So Cicero can be more frank to describe men and things, and in this context, lascivus can be translated in French by something like mauvais genre, free-minded, or something like that. But in this case, it's the idea is Epicrates is breaking a rule, is guilty of an infraction against the law. There is a good example for the unpreciseness of the French traduction by Gaffiot. And the second example by Vergil in Eclogues, second Eclogues, verse 61, about the lasciva capella. For Félix Gaffiot, it's something like gay, happy, but in this context, the lasciva capella, the lascive goat, is linked with Corydon and Alexei, who have an homosexual, a pederastic relation in the Eclogues, like in all the collection of Eclogues. So in this case, lascivus has its meaning of can have is its meaning of lascive in an erotic point of view. All these examples to show that lascivus is very difficult to translate in French or in English, and that can be the point of departure for a job about his sense or its senses. We will speak, Thibault and I, about firstly the theoric, the more classic point of view about this question, and in the second part about the pratique, the informatic applications on this problem. In classicist studies, we have the classic method. I say the study of occurrences, terms of the same family, with the Indo-European origin, etc., etc. But our method adds something to this classic method. Indeed, our method is inspired by the sentiment analysis. The sentiment analysis consists in the study of the axiologic value of a word through a digital method. And the aim of this analysis is to show and to see polarity of contexts. Every word has a polarity, positive or negative, and shows a dose of subjectivity or objectivity. But this kind of sentiment analysis has limits. The sentiment analysis can work in a small corpus and in a modern corpus. Why? Because scholars, students can have a direct connection with the cultural or the cultural landscape or the ideology of the language which is studied. The problem of Latin is it's a very it's a language which is not spoken anymore, and the Latin evolved through the times with important metamorphoses through its history. For example, the rise of Christianism in the 4th or 5th century is a kind of passage in the landscape, in the ideological landscape, which can influence the language in its signification. And Latin, so it is of an old language, but there is the problem of the traduttore traditore too. The traduction shows an subjectivity, and an cultural adaptation. There is, in this case, the problem of the polarity in the language, original language, cannot always be restituted in the aim language. But something has not moved in the history of Latin language. That is two notions. The concept of exemplum and the concept of auctoritas. These two concepts are used particularly in a rhetoric frame, and the exemplum is a fact, a person, which shows a value in his acts, a particular value, positive or negative, which can be a model or not a model for people who study this exemplum. For example, the work of Matthew Roller shows very particularly this point. And the auctoritas is the value which is accorded to an author because of his gravity, his serious, for his true work as historian, as a sorry. Okay. As historian, as a philosopher, etc. And these concepts of exemplum and auctoritas, one thing is important is the teaching of memory. Indeed, the memory is very important in the the Latin ideological thought, and this memory was important in a pagan context. For example, the Valerius Maximus Facta et Dicta Memorabilia. It's a good example of that. And in the Christianism too. For example, the City of God by Augustine registers many examples to show that the paganism is false and the Christianism is true. So this work about exemplum and auctoritas is very important through the evolution and metamorphosis of the Latin language. This problem of sentiment analysis, we have linked this problem, this method, with the network analysis, which is not well studied. Network analysis or social network analysis, SNA. The SNA is about persons, about people, and the graphic representation is distributed between nodes, which is a point in a scheme, and ties, which link these nodes, and they can show a graphic representation of many words that can be near in the writer's mind. For its applications, there are two main applications in literature. For example, the works of Franco Moretti in his book Distant Trading, and in his article Network Theory Plot Analysis, as well showed that SNA can be very useful in the study of literary works. It takes the example of Hamlet and study the structure of Hamlet through this method. And the important is the interactions. But in literature, but too in history too, with works of Diane Klein, who has written an article about Alexander, and which its title is 6 Degrees of Alexander's Social Network Analysis as a Tool for Ancient History. And the same Diane Klein make the count of uses of SNA for the digital classics associations in 2013. She studied the interactions about Alexander, particularly in the problem of conspirations, plots against Alexander, and about Pericles in the Plutarch's life. This method, through these two main applications, shows groups in a network through statistics or through the making of clusters of group of meaning, and through the definition of a certain many people, many personalities as very important in a particular network. We wanted, with its instruments, with this analysis, we wanted to show the network of exempla and auctoritas, which have citations around our words, our adjective lascivus, and there is there are groups of associations in a particular in the particular semantic family. And this analysis through network can inform us about the polarity of the term. The two main types of nodes in our work is the words of our research and the nouns of personalities, of persons, of people, which were an exemplum signification, exemplum meaning, which are exemplar, or which were an auctoritas in the mind of writers. Between these nodes, the edges or ties are the co-occurrences in a same context. This context defined as the sentence, and its propriety and the propriety of words is relationship between the exemplum and the word. And this propriety can be an opposition, a neutrality, or can be qualified or qualificated. So the notion, the concepts of exemplum and auctoritas wears by itself a propriety of polarity, which can connote the word lascivus negatively or positively. So why did I speak about these different problems? I spoke because these different kind of analysis showed how the classical notions of exemplum or auctoritas can be can have a new light, a new meaning through the modern tools like informatics. And to speak about this problem, I let Thibault speaking about the modern use of old concepts through the example of Clotho.
Thank you, Anthony. So, we'll try to go to the good, the Clotho project. So, as Anthony said, the idea is to basically do a graph representation of words we are looking for and their exemplar / auctoritas. I will mainly use the word exemplar as exemplar / auctoritas is quite fun to say. And well, to do that, we need to go deep into a lot of text, and honestly it could be done by hand. You could just read every piece of work in the Latin corpus and find occurrences of lascivus and underline every name of person near it, annotate it by yourself, but I'm kind of too lazy for that. So I thought, hey, let's do a program. So it is a Clotho project. The Clotho project is separated in two main interfaces. The first one, which we call Clotho local, is a Python software which can be used, and I will do a demonstration a little later, which can be used to find occurrences. It has a command line interface, as well as it can be used in your own Python program, which I hope is useful for some people. Then Clotho Web is basically, as it seems, a web interface for the results you have processed. Quite important, it's open source. I hope that there is developers around in the digital classicist world which will give it some help, because I am sure we can do much better than what we have done. And well, let's hope there is some people who have time in the weekend, which I'm not sure. So, Clotho local data creation. Clotho local use parses data as input. We, of course, don't provide the parses data with or software. You have to download them, install them. And it will basically, you will give it some words, like lascivus, for example, and it will find every occurrences of it, lematize the data in it. If there is more than one word, if there is more than one lemma for one form, then it will keep all the possible lemma for this form. And actually what we provide as well is, if you want quick results, just to have an overview of your results, you can use some kind of probability cleaning. So basically here, this is some kind of math stuff. It's more simple than it looks. Basically, a link from A to B, a form to a lemma. So a form can have more than one link. It means more than one lem. The weight of a link is actually, the weight of a lemma, the weight of a lemma is the sum of the number of forms it is bound to, the number of forms it is bound to. And basically what we do, the probability is, for one link, is the weight of the lemma divided basically by the number of, the sum, so the sum of links to another lemma for this same form, multiplied by this particular lemma. Basically, if your form is, if one form like lascivus has two lemma, lascivus and lascivi. Sorry, I have no better example right now. But lascivus has been found more time in your whole process. It will say that the probability it is connected to lascivus and not lascivi is higher, and so it will clean. It's just some facilities if you want to have a first quick view of your results. It's not what you would like if you want to have 100% results, basically, but it can be quite useful. Little issue, Perseus data. For once, I won't speak about the TI. It's not an issue with the TI, but basically, unfortunately, Perseus hasn't been updating their public data for the occurrences of words. So basically, if you look for a word like we have tried sphinxtria, which is some kind of circus man with a really high sexual connotation. It has 4 occurrences. It's in the Latin corpus. Circus man. I'm sorry, I've actually no idea. It's some kind of sexual athlete with some kind of happiness. You could translate it like that. The last studies to translate it in French actually goes this way. Not sure it's a good one, but if you look at it with our software, you won't be able to find it, because the data that Perseus have been giving don't have any occurrences for sphinxtria, even if sphinxtria is in the text. So we add, and that's kind of against the idea of Clotho, because Clotho has to be, the aim of Clotho is it can be used by any non-developer. And unfortunately, if you want to have good results, you will have to be a good developer, because you will have to add some Lucent stuff, which is quite not hard, but not easy to install with Python. Basically, fortunately, we have given some tutorial in the GitHub repository. But anyway, let's go to the next slide. So, Clotho Local offers right now 3 means of export. The first one is a Gephi export. It will basically export all the data, so you can use them and watch them in Gephi. Then it has some nice output, which is a co-occurrences matrix. For those who know D3GS, there is some kind of example with a co-occurrences matrix. It's kind of nice for small corpus. Like if you look for the last keywords, it's possible. If you have more than 100 words or entities, then it becomes quite unreadable, because you need a really, really large string. But anyway, for those 2 functions, we have the probability cleaning. A cluster facility, we use a spectral clusterization. We want to add more, but for now we are kind of okay with the one we have. But it is possible to add more. And then we have another option to add a threshold of frequency, which can be quite useful as well. And then the third export is, of course, Clotho Web. And I think right now I will give you a little. And I'm sorry I have to do that from here because the keyboard is quite small. Let's look a little how it works. So Clotho local. So it's quite easy to start. Basically it's that. What's going to load? And it asks you simple things. You want to make a new query? Yes, and your query. Search. Choose mode, entities, lemma. So do you want to retrieve all lemma, or do you want to retrieve only entities, which are basically auctoritas, for example, we will go for entity actually. And then you give it a lemma, so we are looking for last keyword. We add it, no, save, and this shown error, there is not. I have no idea why it shows error during save it anyway. And then it asks you if you want to process this query. Depending on your installation, if you want to use MySQL or use, and we'll stop here and actually import a query, because of course as you save them, you can import them. And I have a lot, actually, and you see that I have some particular interests. And we will load the 16. We don't want to process it again. Some kind of checker. We want to export your query, and I talked about 3 options for export. They are all there. As you can see, it's really easy to use. It's maybe half an hour to install it, but it's quite easy to use. Anyway, so now the export, you have a little overview of what you can do. So, a simple export, if I can find it in my documentation, is something like that. I used the plugin in Jiffy for web visualization, and you can have something like that actually, and you can see clusters. So each point is actually a lemma, and you can have kind of a nice overview of all the, I think it's entities only, so auctoritas and exemplum shown here, and you can have a nice overview. Of course, in Jiffy, it's you have more options, but I think it's quite nice to show that instead of Jiffy, because Jiffy takes some time to load so much things and do some clusterization. So anyway, and then a matrix of concurrencies. I have one here. Sorry. Data, and it is here. It's not script. And a concurrencies matrix. As soon as it starts. So we have, okay, it's not big enough anyway. Quite slow. Normally it should. Oh, I have no internet access. Maybe no. Anyway, so each query is actually a cluster. Normally it kind of sorts by itself. I have no idea why right now it doesn't, because we tested it like 1 hour ago and it worked. Anyway, and actually it has some kind of nice results, because I would like it to work too, because I could show you a nice result. Yay! Clusters. Okay, so of course we don't have the one which is of interest. Okay. You see matter here is in the same cluster as Mentula, which is basically a parse. But pattern is in the same cluster than liable. I have no idea why for now. I haven't have a look in why it will cluster this way, but it's just the kind of thing you would like to be able to do. So here it was one of the first exports. So as you see, there is not only entities, but it has kept things like words will define persons, but you can see that there is also false positive, like, I don't know, sway, which is, I have no idea why it was there at the time. Bellum, because actually bellum can also be a name of an entity in some political way. And, well, that's the issue. It has not clean results. Not at all. But it's kind of a start, I hope. Okay, so let's go back to Clotho. Let's go to Clotho Web then, if I can. Yeah. No? Sorry. Okay. Okay, so Clotho Web. So Clotho Web is basically what you would use to clean a little the mess of the data. Clotho Web is a web interface for manual processing of Clotho local raw data. What it means is that you're working with a team all alone, and you want to annotate the stuff, clean the lemmatization, checks that every lemma we have had is actually a person and not a false positive. And maybe there is some word who hasn't been lemmatized, and you want actually to lemmatize it. So basically the top function of Clotho Web is annotation and lemmatization. What does that mean? Lemmatization, I think it's quite clear. You choose the lemma it is, the right lemma. You can add lemma which weren't there. And annotation, actually, it means pretty everything because you can add every annotation you want. It has been designed with the idea that it will be RDF compliant, but I have some struggle to find a good scheme to use because I'm not really RDF friendly, and I would like to thank Anna for the lot of help she gave me, but it's still not enough. Still not enough for me. It's well enough for you, but I think I'm just lost in the scheme anyway. But Clotho Web has another good thing. I said it can be used as in your academic team or alone, but it can be as well used as a crowdsourcing project. It has been actually done with the main idea that it will be used for crowdsourcing. And we are happy to talk today as well as Clotho about Lascira Roma, who is basically the crowdsourcing project, who is using Clotho Local and Clotho Web, and whose aim is to annotate the context of I have to say it in the right order, because if I don't, it sounds weird. The semantic field, Latin semantic field of sexuality, including of course Lascivus. So Clotho Web has in itself a gamification modules. So if you want to create your own crowdsourcing project from your data you have had from Clotho Local, you have already a gamification module. What it is, basically, when people are doing stuff on the website, I will show the website just after, they will be rewarded by some kind of level. So you start as a student, little Cicero actually, and then you will become a citizen. That's actually the only picture I have found of a woman for the pages. I have tried to find anything else with a woman, and I thought student as woman lower level was not good, so I to citizen. Anyway, resort edile, tribune, and consul is the highest rank. So it's just kind of nice when you annotate on some project and you are rewarded with these kind of things. I think it's one of the main things in crowdsourcing. You have to give some rewards to your users. We have done a hell of an effort for the user interface, because I'm not sure that everybody wants to spend his evening annotating Latin. Maybe people in this room, I don't know, but not sure everyone would. And we have tried to make it easy to understand, which was quite difficult, but you will see, and if you have feedback, please, you're welcome to send them or to participate, as it is open source. Some statistics, I think, which are quite interesting. We have 11 lemma, so there is Lascivius, Virgo, Mentula, there is others. Of course, Futur, some kind of nice words you wouldn't translate in an academic presentation. And we expect to add some others at some point, but we have some kind of troubles because basically, for example, pedicare is not in the Lewis and Short, in the Perseus dump, which is available. So we need to kind of find a way to add new words to this Perseus dump to be able to add words like pedicare, but also like fututor or things like that. For those 11 query lemma, we have 80 forms. We have 505 sentences for 517 occurrences, which means that sometimes those words occurs in the same sentence, which is kind of nice to know. And we have 850 supposed auctoritas, for example. I can say there is a lot of false positive. That's why we have Clotho web. But there is also a lot of false negative. So that's why we have Clotho web. And we have in total 988 total forms to check. So a lot of works. Well, I think it's time for a little no slide here. Okay, a little presentation of the interface, which is available on lasciviaroma.com. Screen is quite small, I hope it will fit. No, it's quite kind of responsive. So, welcome to lasciviaroma, which is basically what you will get if you install Clotho at the moment. So, some kind of explications. If you want to follow Twitter, we have one. As you can see, annotation, you can add or browse the annotation. As I'm not logged in, there will be only the annotation at the moment. We have not a lot of that annotation at the moment. We have lemma. For lemma, we have type, and you can say it's a person's date or it's a place. And for sentence, we have something which is quite important. It's polyphony. Site is an error. I have no idea why it is here. But irony, basically, as we say, we want to compute at some point what is the polarity of Lascivius. But if the sentence is irony, we have to find a way to kind of change the value of the polarity of the whole context. So that's why we have stuff like that. You can annotate the lemma, of course, say it's a person, say person is Greek, it's a god. I don't know, he's a wrestler, he's a prostitute. But you can as well annotate a sentence. We have sort of polyphony, but there is also the genre of the book, which can be quite interesting to annotate. Things like that, actually. And then I will actually log in. So we can have a picture inside. You can log in with Facebook, it's way easier. You can't log in with Twitter because Twitter doesn't give back your email address, and it's a shame. So, actually I just created my account just by logging on Facebook. And now we'll actually go to a random sentence. It doesn't crash, it's wonderful. So we have here a good example, actually, even if it was random. So it's in the Amores, apparently, from Ovid, and we have this sentence. Next to my onia lasciviae more puellae in kingi zona de dequisse puras. Interruption point. Yeah, I haven't done anything, so I think I might do something on this sentence. it's not ironic, but let's click, oh yeah, of course. Normally, as I have already browsed the website, normally some kind of help would show up saying what you might want to do. Well, it's kind of clear, I hope. If you find something to say, please, again, you're welcome to feedback. So I will click actually on my Ionia, and you can see that we have two possibilities, Myonius or Myonia. This vote is actually made by the probability thing I talked about before. And I'm kind of sure it's wrong. I'm kind of sure it's more chance it is Myonia. I don't know what you think, Anthony, but I will go for Myonia on this one. So basically what I will do is say, no, I don't agree, and it doesn't work. Yeah, it works. Doesn't work well, but it works. Some bug, of course, presentation. So you will basically vote up my Ionia. No, I'm just bad with my own interface. No, actually. Okay, anyway. You will vote plus for Myonia and actually vote down for Myonius. That's a simple thing you can do. And you want to do more, you can give it a polarity. I don't know who is Myonia, so I want to do that. And you can add annotation. I'm kind of sure Myonia is a person, so I will just add it is a person. And I will, it's an adjective. Even with a capital M.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm really bad. For people, my Latin is really old. Let's say I've messed up too much with computer in the last months or years. Okay, so I'm wrong. So you will have to vote against it after this seminar. So actually, I annotate it as a person. You will be welcome to say it's wrong. I will do it right now. And relationship. So what is, sorry, John. What is the relationship from this form, between this form to this form? Right now I have no idea, because I would need to translate it. You will need to translate. Let's keep polite. Well, for now, I want to annotate, but you can basically say it's opposed, it's neutral, it's qualified by, and last UI, of course. And then you would help us to build this network, because if you don't do that, we have this link, we have no idea what it is. Is it a position? Is it neutral, but it's interesting to know it was connected? Or is it qualified by? Basically, if, I love the example of Philaelis. Philaelis, there is a wonderful epigram in Martial Walk about Philaelis. I might actually be able to find it. Where Philaelis do really, really naughty things. She's a well-known prostitute slash courtesan. I have no Philaelis in the results. And if she's connected to Laskiwa, if Marshall says Laskiwa Philaelis, I would say that Philaelis is qualified. By Laskiwa, I would say that Philaelis is a person, and I would say that basically the polarity of Philaelis is not so good, not in the Roman literature culture. Okay, but you have some things, as you can see, I have just made my own because I have done some votes, quite interesting. You have a history of your actions here, so if you want to go back on the sentence, you have actually last sentence, which is wonderful because I spent so much time clicking a random sentence, I am not able to find the last one I've we're clicking on. And you can see that I have 3 actions, and I'm not a citizen. But on this sentence, there is 2 kind of gamification levels. The first one is the general one, so it's over all sentences, and then there is for the sentence. So it's kind of nice. We kind of know if you're the contour of a sentence, or if, but you can be the citizen of Lasciva Roma, depending on how many people will love this interface. Okay, let's go back to the presentation if I'm able to do it. Yeah. Clotho in the near future. That's tricky. That's what we wish to do. I have to say, right now I will take a little pause with it. It has been feeding my weekends and nights for too long. But anyway, we want for Clotho Web to have a public export of the results. Right now it's possible, but it's not really clear how you get that. So basically it means that if you want to use these results for your own research, you can. As long as you quote us, obviously. We want to be able to do the computation of the polarity, because what we want to do, which is actually quite simple, it's just math. The most complicated part was actually to do the network internalization, but we want to be able to export data from Clotho Web to Clotho Local, and then compute the polarity of our research terms. We want to add more cluster algorithm, obviously. Maybe some kind of word sense induction stuff. That will be nice. And sorry, I think I made some fault. It was really late when we wrote that. And we want more developers. So if you're some Pythonista or PHPista, you're more than welcome to come. I will be happy to see more than me doing that. Actually, I think that's all. So you will find the GitHub links if you want to participate. The email address of Anthony and me, of course, and special thanks to people who helped us during this long walk.
Sentences. And I don't see why you need social network analysis to do that. You can just count. It's similar to what the matrix did. The other suggestion I would make, if you use visualizations like you did with the Getty, very pretty picture, but I think that I didn't understand what those pictures were showing. And you never explained to the audience what those pictures were really showing. And I would suggest that you either tell people what those pictures are really showing, or don't show the pictures. I mean, they're very pretty, but so exactly why are you using social network analysis? And I think you do need a better job of explaining how you're using those techniques in your research.
Okay, I will reply for the social network analysis first. Basically, we have shown tonight, we are focused on the Lasciva's case. But actually, our first use case was the relationship of Kikiros.
The relationship between?
Kikiros and other people. Because you can use it only for words and co-occurrences, but you can also say that your lemma is Kikero, and then find to who is connected. As much as it is when he was alive, which is social network, and then you can expand it to semantic meaning, to who Kikero is connected. There is actually a website online which is kikirosnetwork.org with those kind of results, when you will find Kikeros connected to Caesar or Plato, because he's a philosopher, so it's quite normal to connect him to the main philosopher. So it has some kind of social network analysis. Most of all, we are not quite sure how to call it, as it's co-occurrences, but it's also exemplum. And exemplum are actually people who lived or not. And what we are interested is the network of those people connected to those words. But we have also, that's something I should have shown. I'm sorry I didn't go explain so much the picture. I should have. Thank you for the feedback. Basically, you don't have only the connection to the lamb, but you keep the connection. If two exemplum are quoted in the same sentence, you have a connection between them, and you keep it. So basically, it is some kind of mixed social network analysis, mixed co-occurrences analysis. I have no idea how to call it actually. We use the social network / distant trading techniques, but in the end it's neither of them. So it's
that's much clearer, and that was not in the presentation. That explanation you just gave me.
Any other comments or questions?
When, as of 5 minutes ago, my non-existent Latin, I now know that adjectives need declining. Does that, when you're extracting the adjective from the rasculus from the text, was that done already by Perseus, or is there some sort of Latin stemming out there that I don't know about?
So in the actual version, it is using Perseus data.
Mm-hmm.
In the previous version, which I have dropped off in the development work, I was using actually the lematizer, which is known as Colatinus. I don't know if you know Colatinus. Maybe some classicists here know it. It's actually a piece of software. You give it a sentence, it will give you the possible lemma. And it has been written at some point in Python back in 2005. Its aim is not to be used by another program, and I hadn't time to contact the developer to ask him if I could publish and connect it with our stuff. And as I need to modify it a little so it would work with Clotho, I need his approval, basically. So it is a powerful lematizer. It works. It could be used by that, but right now we don't use it, unfortunately. So for now we are relying on Perseus data.
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions that perhaps are somehow related. So one is about, it's an issue that concerns many crowdsourcing projects and not just crowdsourcing projects. So one is about moderation, and the other one is about this gamification, which is fun, but it is linked to moderation. So one of the questions is, who is going to check these annotations? And B, in your case, you made a comment or an annotation which was wrong, but we still gained the level of citizen. So the two things are, of course, linked.
So that's a pretty good question. Pretty tricky one also. So for the control, unfortunately, as we are not able to do that by yourself, and we are asking the court, and we only two for this number of sentences, we will put some threshold for the results. Actually, we won't take something if it hasn't been voted by more than 5 or 10 people. And that's the only answer I can give right now on the control. I will try, as I will need to use these results in some academic stuff. I will try to have a check on what I will be able to, but unfortunately, right now it's only a statistical. Sorry, not statistical, but it's a threshold. For the gamification, that's true. There is an issue. We can't actually say we can actually improve the gamification models because it's kind of separated of the whole stuff, and it needs some improvement. What I do actually is that if you update something, you won't get a new credit for what you did. So basically, you vote for plus for something, and then minus, and then plus, and then minus. You don't get credit. That's the only thing I could find to do something.
You become a slave.
I actually slave was in the beginning, and after I thought if someone comes to use Lexicon, I'm not sure he or she will be happy to be called slave when he first loads the page. So then I went to student. I thought it was nicer, but I think some kind of weighting the truth votes, the gamification level could be something really nice. But as I said, it needs improvement. I think actually Lasky Aroma will move. There will be new inputs in it. There will be some more gamification changes. If I have time, I will try to weight the thing. I hope people won't get angry at getting a level lower, or I'm sure they won't if they get a higher level, but anyway. So yeah, that's it.